One thing that I will say is that even though that work was terrible, like doing the admin work, doing the whole back end, I really contribute a lot of that to why I excelled the first year so much. Contrary to belief, real estate can be a very lonely business. When you move from the country and you can't see your neighbor and you just have open space and just crickets, like you can't hear anything, right, at nighttime, to moving into the city is a very big adjustment. This is the first time I've ever lived in a city. At the end of the day, appreciate your support. We're here to help, and always appreciate your support, referrals, and putting your trust in us to help you make these major decisions. But at the end of the day, we couldn't do any of this without you guys.
Hello, friends. Thanks. I have Ben Archibald here, my great team member, and I want to thank you guys for coming to another edition of Calgary Living, Real Estate and Lifestyle. Today's show is really about get to know Ben and Brian. And it's been a while since we've done a show. And so we're really pleased to sit here with Ben and have a little conversation about, we just gone through 5 years almost, Ben, you and I working together.
Yeah, 5 years.
And you've really have come a long way in 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a road. It's been a lot of ups and downs. Real estate is always, there's always challenges, but it's every day's a new day, which makes it fun. Mm-hmm. So it's been great.
So Ben, I'd like to talk a little bit about, just like, getting to know you a little bit and help the audience understand, and, our clients maybe get to know yourself better, and myself. But you came from sort of can you tell a story a little bit about how you and I got connected 5 years ago?
Yeah, you bet. It's funny. They always say, different life can be one decision or one moment away. And that's really what happened. Because, I was obviously moving all over the country with my family, et cetera. I was in, apprenticing to be a heavy duty tech beforehand. And then I just decided, I said, you know what, let's try real estate. Real estate looks fun, right? And basically, I was driving around trying to find all these realtors, right? Trying to give my resume, going to all the brokerages, giving out my resume to just try to figure out what the business is. And so I was trying to find realtors. So I was going around to every brokerage, handing out my resume, and everybody's like, nobody's in, nobody works here, right? no realtors in the brokerage, right? And so then I took to online, started clicking around, and started basically clicking around on a bunch of different ClickFunnels. And then all of a sudden saw this website, find the best realtor in Calgary. Clicked on that, put in a bunch of bogus information, put my phone number, put my email, and then I was like, I have a $2 million house to sell, this, that, the next thing. And within 10 minutes, Brian called me. Can I help you sell your house? And I said, well, actually, can I work for you?
That's pretty much it. And we had a quick conversation on the phone. This is October 2019, I think, maybe September.
2020, yeah.
2020? Was it 2020?
It might have been 19. Something like that.
It was 2019 because COVID hit in 2020.
Right.
And you were already working with me prior to COVID. And I said, and you sounded really eager and keen on the phone. And I said, well, I think, actually, I said, come to my office tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it is. You basically said, meet me in my office tomorrow and we'll see how it goes. And so we met at Remax House.
And so that was kind of funny. And I've done a lot of coaching and have had a lot of coaches, but my job, the real estate job is really, there's a lot of boredom in there. And not, it's a lot of repetitious boredom. So I said, he won't last half the morning, but he was there at 7:45, all eager before I got there. And you basically just shattered me for that morning. And I said, okay, that was really boring, wasn't it, Ben? Are you going to come back tomorrow? And then, and you said, yep. And,
you looked at me and you said, come back, let's see how this week goes. Because after that, it was was that boring? And I was like, this is fascinating. Came back for a week, and then after that, we decided to basically join you as your unlicensed assistant, kind of just helping you out, learning the business.
Great.
And I was also commuting an hour one way every day to that.
An hour every way, yeah. And you were just totally into it, and you actually brought me to a higher level in my own job because I was kind of showing off. And really in those mornings, that morning time that I spend in the office, it's just about prospecting. It's finding buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers.
Totally.
And so it's just time on the phone. And so you were right into it, and you were helpful, and that was great.
It was fun. That felt like so long ago.
And then you wanted then we I think then we had an assistant, but then we didn't have an assistant, and then you were like kind of like, okay, I want to be an assistant. I want to learn everything about assistant. And I was encouraging you not to do that. Do you remember why?
Yeah, well, I was doing. You basically you kind of like you were like you got to get into the business. You got to, right. You got to get licensed. You got to start selling. But at the time, obviously, it was expensive. A, B, I had to go through the schooling, and so at that time, I would be working for you during the day. And then at nighttime, I'd be doing my course. And so I did that for 3 months. And then, 6 months. 6 months after we met, or 8 months after we met, I got fully licensed in June of, I guess 2020.
And it was funny, too. Like, I was, like, encouraging you not to learn everything that an assistant does because assistants, if you're going to be in sales and admin work are two different things.
Very.
And so and you did learn the admin work and the job side of it, but I saw that your passion for real estate, homes, families, and helping, just all the natural things that make you an excellent salesperson today. I saw all that, and I was like, we don't need you doing administrative work.
You don't need to do paperwork for 8 hours.
So that was cool. So then you did the course, and so here we are, almost 5 years later since that start. You had a great year last year, your best year ever.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was in the neighborhood of 40 deals, 40 to 50, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
It was a great year.
And what do you contribute why was it a good year? Actually, and how was it different from the year previous?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, so one thing I wanted to touch on too is so when I was working for you as an assistant, one thing that I will say is that even though that work was terrible, like doing the admin work, doing the whole back end, I really contribute a lot of that to why I excelled the first year so much. Because I already walked into the first year, 8 months, already knowing how to talk to people, knowing what to say, knowing the process back to front, the contracts. So like I wouldn't change that for anything, but would I ever go back to it? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now for this last year, obviously, I have to, my clients, they were amazing and always appreciate their support and the referrals. Obviously the team, yourself, that is a major, major, major part of it. Having that support, having the systems, having the people in your corner, because real estate, contrary to belief, real estate can be a very lonely business. Mm-hmm. It can be, because you're dealing with ups and downs of everybody else, because they say what? The two most stressful things you can do in life are divorce and sell a house, right? And so you're dealing with people's ups and downs, and a lot of people don't have that support system behind them. So obviously the team was huge, the coaching, and the mentorship that you provide, and also my family, right? My wife, my family. That was a big thing on the backside, and obviously as well, the number one is obviously the clients, right?
Right.
I've been lucky enough to have some really great clients, and
your clients, it seems that it's amazing. I mean, I don't know if we should actually say this. Ben started working for me when he was 19. How old are you now?
24, just turned.
24, yeah. And so it's kind of like the maturity level, I think, as someone in the early 20s is quite high in your case. Have you always been like a natural? Tell me a little bit about your housing growing up, and I mean, you helped your parents, I think, in making decisions, like it seems like a 12-year-old boy or something, didn't you, in housing? Like you had opinions, strong opinions, I think. Yeah,
I think that's how I was raised. My mom always said, she said, sometimes I regret the way I raised you guys in respect to, because we'd talk back, right? Like if we didn't agree with something or something happened, we would voice our opinion, and that, obviously, as you know, as a parent, it's not always the nicest thing, but it's good. It's a good quality to have. And so, it's, from a young age, obviously, upbringing, etc. I wouldn't change it for the world. Both my mom worked in the oil field for a bit as in the admin side of things, as bookkeeper, etc. My dad was a teacher. We moved around a lot, changing different areas, grew up in the country, right? Was living up by Edmonton for a while, out by Edson, Drayton Valley, Vulcan, right? Born in BC. So I've really lived pretty much all over Alberta, except for deep north Alberta.
But this is the first, last 5 years you lived in Calgary, the city. Is this the first time you've lived in a kind of a big city?
Yeah. It's definitely an adjustment coming from the country. I always say that. I said, when you move from the country and you can't see your neighbor and you just have open space and just crickets, like you can't hear anything, right, at nighttime, to moving into the city is a very big adjustment. This is the first time I've ever lived in a city.
And so tell us a little bit about the goals here, maybe in the next 1, 3, and 5 years. I know that you currently live in the city, and you're maybe thinking about trying to get to the outskirts. Is that going to happen? Maybe is that on the goal list?
Yeah, that's on the bucket list. I would love to buy a place just out west. Millerville, I love Millerville. Same thing with Pritis. By Bragg Creek. Those areas are just the beauty of it, the rolling hills, the foothills, the mountains, and then still having the convenience of Calgary. Mm-hmm. So I really love that. Water Valley, obviously that would be a huge goal in the next 2 years to purchase an acreage out there, kind of a fixer-upper and do a bit of like a flip/rental project. But I think the next 5 years is really like the next couple years. I really want to just focus on the business. I want to focus on growing, trying to dial our systems in a little bit better and, really make it make it cut and dry, mm-hmm. right? Make it so repeatable that, we could bring on another team member and say, plug them in and
good.
That's done.
Excellent.
Right. And I think we're getting there quite quickly, like the new transfer of the systems, et cetera. It's given us a lot of organization, which I think we've needed.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, you've added a lot of fun in my world the last 5 years. It's been great having you and seeing you grow into this amazing realtor that you are, and how your clients just love you and rave about you all the time. It's like, he's way better than me that I've ever been.
Oh, come on. He's being modest. And
so, in any case, anything else that you'd like the audience of the show to know about Ben? I mean, you got married since you started working the last couple of years ago.
Yeah,
you're taking vacation. You've actually got on a plane.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years for the first time in your life.
Fun fact. Yeah, I never left Canada until fully left Canada, like on a plane. Was my honeymoon. Yeah, like 2 years ago.
That's great.
2 years ago. That was the first time I ever jumped on a plane was to Mexico. And then then when we just recently got back from the Dominican. So good. it's been I don't know, it's been a fun journey. Obviously, it's always cool to look back though on how we initially connected and how all of this kind of came to be was from a click of a button.
It's kind of wild, isn't it?
Isn't it crazy to think about?
And any last minute parting for the audience here? Maybe it's your past client that's watching here on YouTube or something. Any thoughts on
anything to share?
Anything to share that you think that the world needs to know about Ben Archibald?
I don't know, not really. I'm an open book, frankly. As you know, I'm an open book. I don't really keep anything, under wraps. And at the end of the day, appreciate your support. We're here to help, and always appreciate your support, referrals, and putting your trust in us to help you make these major decisions. But at the end of the day, we couldn't do any of this without you guys. So,
thanks very much for tuning in today, you guys. Brian Howard, Ben Archibald, we're out. Thank you.